We are in part 3 of Mr. and Mrs. And today is going to be a time, I think we just talk about the relationship that happens 24/7, you know? It's always an amazing thing to me that marriage in any way, shape, or form ever works. You know, you ever thought about that? You have two people from two different homes, sometimes from two different places in the world or two different places in the United States, that have two different sets of parents, or maybe multiple sets of parents, depending upon if there was divorce in the relationship before that. Two different parenting styles that they grew up with, usually two different socioeconomic statuses, two different, sometimes even accents, you know, the way that they talk. And somehow God takes these two people, shoves them in the same, thing, and somehow that works out. That's just an amazing thing to me, that God is able to actually create something out of such unique diversity between the two things. And so this morning is a part of that cultivation that takes time, because a lot of times when people get married, or they're getting ready to get married, and they do their own vows or whatever, they'll always say something like this: "You're my best friend." And at that point in time, they actually think that they mean it. And then marriage begins to happen, right? Time after time, and then you're living together 24/7, and you see each other, and all those different things happen. And sometimes, and I'll just give it to you from a guy's perspective. As guys, we love the pursuit, right? We love the pursuit, and so we're like, man, we want to, doing everything we can to make the relationship great and everything like that. And then we get married, and we have achieved that. And then we often forget that our wives want to continually be pursued. And so then there's that part. But then there's also, the gal in the relationship often thinks to herself, when we get married, I'll be able to change him. No, it doesn't work that way. And so what happens is that this marriage comes together, and all of a sudden, two people who were best friends sometimes discover that there's conflict, that they don't agree on everything. That's called normal. That's just reality. And so this part of the marriage relationship is so absolutely vital. So here's the big idea for today, and I want you to very, very closely see how I phrase this, because I think that's important to understand. It's this: your spouse was designed by God to become your best friend. Your spouse was designed by God to become your best friend. Now, those of you that are English teachers just realized the difference between be your best friend and become your best friend. Become is a progressive thing. It continues to happen. It never stops. If at any point in time in the relationship you stop pursuing to be your spouse's best friend, you begin to cease to be your spouse's best friend. You begin to slide backwards from where you were, because you're no longer pushing that reality. And so as we look at the big idea and we begin to process through it, we're like, man, God has specifically designed your spouse. You're like, well, I don't know that I married the right person. It doesn't matter, because now you're married. And so God has put within their DNA the ability to become your best friend. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to marriage, and almost always in marriage counseling, when Tracy and I will sit down with someone, or if I'm sitting down with a guy or she's sitting down with the wife, and we're talking about things, the first thing that begins to happen is they begin to talk about what their spouse isn't doing. Well, they're not this, and they're not this, and they're not this, and they're not this. And here's the thing that we have to work through. We have to work through all that to get to the point where we say, okay, now what are you not doing that you should be doing? Well, I'm not doing that because, no. Here's the thing. You are always responsible in marriage to do what you're supposed to be doing. You go, well, yeah, but no, it doesn't matter. You as a husband, you as a wife are always responsible to be doing what God has designed and created you to be doing in marriage. And so in this context, in this passage, in this service, in this message, we're talking about how you need to do everything in your power to become your spouse's best friend. Now, again, I want to be really, really clear. Ladies, you do not want your husband to be your best girlfriend. That's just not what you want. I promise you. And here's why. Because when you are having a really, really bad day, and you're like, everything's falling apart, and you just want somebody to help ground you in the reality of what's going on, because let's be honest, emotions can really turn you upside down and everywhere, and your husband usually sits there and listens to you and goes, it'll be okay. If it's your girlfriend, it'll be like, oh yeah, that's right. You need to go in, you need to tell that teacher, you need to tell that person what you think and all that stuff. Whereas your husband, if he's like, your husband's going, hon, I don't think that's going to really work out well. Maybe we need to process through that just a little bit. But conversely, guys, you don't want your wife to be your best guy friend that you go out and do stupid things with and have fun with, because here's why. One of you needs to be able to survive to help the kids. Okay, seriously, so this is, we have to understand this, that the best friend is that person that you're just kind of with and you love hanging out with them. So here's what I want to do. I want to just give you a few things that you can do as an individual. Don't say, hey, to your spouse, you need to be doing these things for me. No, it's your responsibility. It's your responsibility to be doing these things in your marriage. You go, well, what if they don't do it? You do it until they start to recognize it. And they start to join in with you in the process. Now, if you've got a good marriage, everything's going on, I would encourage you to sit down and talk about these things. Say, hey, how do we do these things? Do I do this well? Do you do this well? How do we? And begin to have that conversation. Because that's a good thing to hear from your spouse's perspective on how they think it is. And God, I love it. I love telling you guys this too, by the way. And this is just for the guys. And just listen, I don't know how it works. I truly don't, guys. But God has put inside your wife a marriage manual. He just has. Now, she may not know it's there. But here's what you can do sometime if you just want to have a little fun with this and figure this out, is sit down and ask your wife, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you say our marriage is? And she'll say, I don't know. You go, no. Listen, I really want to know. If you blow her off, she won't tell you. But just, what do you think? It's a 7. Now, you can have one of two responses with it. You'll be like, a 7? I just did the dishes. And no. You just listen. You go, a 7, okay. Well, hon, over the next 6 months, what can we do, not I do, what can we do as a couple to turn that 7 into an 8? She will know. She will know. And I'll tell you, if she's being honest with herself, she's not going to, well, you need to stop doing this and you need to stop doing that. That may be the initial, but if you really get down to it, she'll go, you know what? We need to actually spend more time together without the kids hanging on us. Okay, there you go. And you can begin to process through it. Those are great conversations I encourage you to have. So here's the first thing that you can do. If you really want to become your spouse's best friend, first thing, very important, tune in and respond. Tune in and respond. Those of you that are old enough, and maybe you still do listen to some, but like AM radio, I love talk and sports radio, and so I listen to AM radio a lot. And as you're driving around, sometimes you've got to turn that dial back and forth, 1 degree to the other to kind of get it in correctly, and you're kind of tuning it in so that you can really hear exactly what's being said. And that's exactly what we're talking about here. You need to tune in to your spouse. When they begin to talk, you need to stop doing what you're doing and pay attention to what they're saying. You need to tune in to what's being said and how it's being said. You need to look at the facial reaction that's being taken place, because there's so much more being said than just the words being said. And sometimes you can hear it, but you've not tuned in. You can hear the words that have been said, but you didn't understand the meaning behind the words that were said. And if you truly want to become your spouse's best friend, you've got to learn how to tune in and respond. Let me share with you a couple verses. Psalm 116, 1 and 2 says this. I love the Lord. Why? Because he hears my voice. I love the Lord because he hears my voice and my prayers. I will call on him as long as I live, because he has what? Turned his ear towards me. He actually, now picture this. I love this so much. This is the perfect image that the writer David, King David, Prophet David gives to us. He says, when you begin to talk to God, God in essence, although we know he's spirit, we know he's not physical body, but in the way that we understand it, as we begin to speak, God does this. He goes like this. What was that? Just like you do, like with your kids. Your kid begins to talk or they're upset. What do? You don't stand up here with your arms like this. You get down on one knee and you get on their level and you say, what was that? That's exactly how God responds to us. And I want you to see this as well in Psalm 116, 1 and 2. I love you, Lord. You answered my prayer and you what? You paid attention to me. You actually paid attention to me. So I will praise and pray to you as long as I live. Husbands, wives, listen to this. If God, in all of creation and all the things that he has to do, he literally holds the world together. If God can pay attention to your spouse, you better start. If God can stop, if you will, all that he's doing and point his attention to you, then when your spouse begins to communicate to you, that better be your reaction. Because here's the truth. You really listen best with your eyeballs. You ever watched a TV show and for whatever reason you've got to mute it? Maybe your kids are arguing or whatever, but you mute it and you just kind of watch what's happening. And you don't miss anything that's gone on because you see the reactions. You see the facial reactions. You see that stuff. Or maybe you do some of the things I like doing when we go to the mall. I've got 2 daughters and a wife. Even the 3 dogs that we have are all girls. And so we do this shopping thing a lot. And I love the stores that really pay attention to guys' needs, even though they're women's stores, because usually near the dressing room there is a chair. And the guys all they're like, no, that's my chair. And you sit down and you don't get up. And if your spouse comes out and goes, hey, can I get this size? You wave one of the sales ladies over, go, can you get this size? Because if I get up, that guy's been eyeing this chair for a while and I'm going to lose it. So, but my thing is I love sitting there and watching people. And in my mind, I make up stories of what they're doing. It's all because of you see their expressions and things. You listen best with your eyeballs. When you are watching your spouse, you're watching their body language, you're watching their face, you're watching how they're reacting to things. If your spouse is talking and they're in the middle of their sentence and you do this, what have you just done? You've just told them that whatever you're doing is far more important than whatever they're saying. Because you've turned your attention away from them. You've said, even though you don't ever say it out loud, I'm done listening. I'm done paying attention. What you're saying isn't as important as this. Now, I highly doubt that any of you would ever say that to your spouse. But with your body language, that's exactly what you're saying to your spouse. Because if you are going to be your spouse's best friend, if you are going to become their best friend, you need to tune in and then respond. Because you think about your best friends, right? You sit down, maybe your best buddy, you're driving somewhere together and you're telling stories and you're just cracking up and you're just being silly and all this stuff and they're responding. If you told a story that was absolutely hysterical and funny and they didn't respond, you'd be like, dude, what's the matter with you? What's wrong? Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. You'd be like, you weren't paying attention to me. Or if you were telling your girlfriend a story like, haha, you like this? And she's like, well, I don't get it. I think you're overreacting. Oh, that's a good one. You're like, what's the matter? So if you truly want to be your spouse's best friend, if you want to become their best friend, you need to continually tune in and respond. Engage them in where they are. Second thing, find common interests and pursue them. Friends do things together. That's just what they do. I see it all the time on Facebook, going doing this or running around doing this. And hey, look at this selfie. By the way, I was telling someone else this morning, if you want to take a really good, I've learned this from my 2 daughters. If you want to take a really good selfie, you got to take it from above. That way your double chin doesn't show as much. So just in case you're doing that out on Facebook and you weren't sure about that, just make sure you do that and take it, hold it in too. But anyway, so you're taking all these pictures and you do that. Why? Because you're friends. You like doing things together. Why do you like doing things together? Because you have common interests together. So if you are to become your spouse's best friend, you need to discover some things that you have in common. And you need to figure it out. And you're like, we have nothing in common. Philippians chapter 2, verse 4. Don't look out only for your own interests, but take an interest in others too. This is not just a verse for the church. This is a verse for your marriage. If all you ever do is do stuff that you want to do, or all that you ever do as a couple is stuff that you want to do, you are literally saying to your spouse, the stuff that you like is pretty stupid. We don't want to do that. Now, again, I think it's really wise. I don't think you need to do everything together, but I think you need to find some common interests that you can do together. Something that Tracy and I really many years ago discovered that we like doing together, and which is strange because I'm a guy. I like sports. Tracy does not. I like guns. I like tools. One of the things I love doing is just walking through Harbor Freight. I don't have any money. I just like walking through Harbor Freight going, man, I could get that if I wanted to. I don't know what I'd use it for. I have to think of a project that I need that particular tool for. I need a stand-up belt sander for some reason. I don't know why, but I know that I need it. I just love doing that type of thing. That is not something that my wife is going to be like, oh, that sounds like not fun. She likes to do crafty stuff, like doing different things and decorations and furniture and knickknacks like crazy. Do you know where those two things are combined together? Antique malls. You're like, what are you, a girl? No, seriously, I'm telling you, they've got like World War II helmets and bayonets and old comic books and spears and like some guns, and they've got straight ray blazers, or not blazers, that's a jacket, straight blade razors, and just cool stuff like that. And we have discovered, and they've got like knickknacks and stupid repainted things and whatever that Tracy loves and thinks is great. And so that's something that we actually enjoy doing together because it has both of our interests, and we just kind of have fun doing that. We hardly ever spend any money because it's like, here's a table that we repainted and it's $7,000. Would you like that? No, I'm good, thank you. But the reality is that it's something that we have discovered our interests, which we're really not on the same page, but we enjoy doing that together. Sometimes it's just kind of fun to find a TV show or a movie or something like that you enjoy watching together. Just find some common interests and then pursue them. Cultivate them. Figure out how you can do this together more often and really enjoy it, because friends hang out together. So tune in and respond. Find common interests and pursue them. Change routine duties into meaningful moments. Change routine duties into meaningful moments. I love this Proverbs. So just listen to this. Getting information from someone can be like getting water from a deep well. You have to work at it. You have to, drop it down. You have to have patience. You have to do all these different things just to pull information out of them. That may be you, that may be your spouse, but usually in marriage, one holds tightly to information and the other one will tell you anything you want to know. That's just the way that it usually is. If you are smart, you will draw it out. You might call many people your friends, but it's hard to find someone who can really be trusted. If you truly want to become your spouse's best friend, start taking routine, mundane, everyday activities or things that you do and turn it into a meaningful moment because of how you converse about it. I have been amazed how many meaningful conversations that Tracy and I have had as we're putting dishes away. I don't get it. I don't know what is magical about the dishes. I don't think it's anything really all that magical. I think you're not thinking and you're not as self-conscious, and so you're just talking about stuff and you're laughing and you're doing different things. And what's amazing is that something happens in each of our brains, right? Our brain releases these chemicals when we have these meaningful moments, so much so that a stupid, mundane thing like doing the dishes can be something beneficial, can be something that you remember because of the conversation. So begin to think about it. Think about how you can do that, how you can do those, make a meal together. Now, if one of you is like really particular about how things are done in the kitchen and, like how things are cleaned up and how things are put away, maybe that's not the best thing to do. But, if it's like, hey, we just kind of both want to have fun putting a meal together, lovingly put a meal together. Figure it out, have fun. You do this and I'll do this and, do this, and you bump into each other like, and just enjoy. Just enjoy doing something that there's nothing special about it, but because you're doing it together, it makes it fun and enjoyable. Romantically put away the laundry together. Now you're like, oh, I don't think so. I'm telling you, it's kind of fun. Guys, if you learn how you're supposed to fold the towels, it's a lot of fun. And you fold them and you're talking, you're doing silly things. And it's just kind of fun because you're engaging with one another and you're taking a mundane, throwaway task, but you're turning it into a meaningful moment. You go, why do we do this? Well, think about some of the greatest times that you've had with your quote-unquote best friends. Most of them were just stupid things. They had no point to it, no background to it, and often when you talk about it and somebody goes, well, what was that about? Like, oh, you had to be there. You had to be there. It was the context of what was going on. That's exactly what this is. You're intentionally changing routine duties into meaningful moments. So tune in and respond. Find common interest and pursue them. And here we go. Last one. Or change routine, duties, meaningful moments. Last one. Prioritize your partnership above all others. Above all others. Prioritize your partnership with your spouse above all others. There should be no other human relationship that takes precedent over your relationship with your spouse. None. You go, well, I've had this friend since I was in 6th grade. Doesn't matter. Well, I tell him everything. Doesn't matter. There should be no human relationship in your heart or your mind or your actions that says it's more important than my relationship with my spouse. If you do that, that will change how everything else runs in your life. If you realize and you recognize that you becoming a friend of your spouse, becoming your spouse's best friend is one of the most important things, in fact, the most important thing outside of your relationship with God, you will begin to change and leverage how you live, how you talk, how you act around your spouse, because that's the person you run to when things aren't going the way you want them to go. That's the person you go to when you need a pep talk. That's the person you go to help kind of get you out of your funk. That's the person that you go to that gives you a kick in the rear end when you're being a whiner or whatever the case may be, that goes, man, get up off of it and go do it. Proverbs 17:17. A friend, a genuine friend, loves at all times, and a brother is born for a time of adversity. The writer says, listen, okay, there's a couple different levels here if you really understand it. There's a friend, right? And a good friend, no matter what's happening, is going to love you no matter what. But then kind of that person who is just like family to you, and in this case, they are family to you, that when trouble comes, they don't just love you, they stand beside you. They go through the fire with you. They stand back to back with you and says, we got this. That is really how you need to view your spouse. Ladies and gentlemen, do not ever take someone else's side with your spouse. You might go, well, they're wrong. Tell them privately. That's not a good idea. But do not ever take someone else's side, even if it's your mom or your dad or your best friend in the whole wide world. Because your spouse and the relationship with your spouse is to be your highest priority no matter what. Your partnership with your spouse, Your friendship with your spouse can only be cultivated if you take the initiative. If you begin to say, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I am going to tune in. I am going to make sure I understand. I am going to find common interests so that we can be together. I'm going to take stupid little things that we do all the time, and we're going to do them so that there's a meaningful moment that comes out of it. You don't need to try. Just kind of spend time together. And man, whatever it takes, I'm going to put you above everyone else. Not on a pedestal because they're going to be wrong. They're going to make mistakes. Why? Because they're human beings. But you're going to prioritize your relationship with that person, that husband, that wife, above all others. Each week through this series, I've been challenging you to make a commitment to literally, at some point in time through the week, look at your spouse and say, no matter what, I'm committing to. My challenge to you today would be this. To look at your spouse and say, no matter what, I'm committing to being your best friend. Whatever it takes. I'm committing to become your best friend. Because if you can figure out and you do the work and you invest in having a marriage where the two of you become best friends, that's a marriage that'll last a lifetime. That's a marriage that can go through any difficulty. That's a marriage that can go through any hardship. And that's a marriage that will come out the other side not more weak, but stronger. Because as you work together, you begin to learn things about each other. There are things that this next year, this year will be 24 years of marriage and 25 after that. And there are things I'm still learning. I'm learning every day. Those of you that have been married longer, you know that's the case. You're like, well, I didn't know you liked that. I've liked that for 37 years. Okay, good to know. Write that down. But it's constant as we grow and we change together, not apart, as we understand what it means to be our spouse's best friend.